Namaskar and welcome to this exciting show, Sattology, Debunking Mythology. Today we are talking about a very important incident in Mahabharata mentioned as Bhishma Nirvana. Many of you have read it or commented on it, read the commentaries. I can tell you one thing: the conversation between Bhishma and Yudhishthir. It's a conversation worth reading for on every aspect of human life, whether it's a varnashram or spiritual ascension or culture. Everything is mentioned in detail in that conversation. You understand Mahabharata through in the form of a conversation, just like Bhagavad Gita is also part of Mahabharata as a conversation. And when two intelligent people talk, we have to listen. But here we have one very special guest, very intelligent and with a lot of research, very well known across the world, Shri Nilesh Oak. Let us welcome him. Namaskar, Nilesh ji.
Namaskar, Namaskar Aditya ji.
No, it's a real pleasure. Always we are Sugriva's Atlas is really famous now. Atlas has
Yeah,
a new name, which is Sugriva's Atlas.
right, right. And to our viewers, we are now after the four-part Sugriva's Atlas series. We are bringing now. I don't know if it's Aditya ji, if it's going to be four parts or five parts, but somewhere close to that. We won't make it too long. We won't make it prematurely short. So let's call it a four-part series for now on Bhishma Nirvana.
Yeah, excellent. And Bhishma is one of the Vasus, and later on he merged into. So some people have a question. So when Bhishma was down, so when he merged, did it become nine? I said no, it's always remained eight.
Yes, yes,
So he went back and merged into one of the Vasus. He was the youngest one.
yeah.
So so let's get started then.
Okay. All right. So again, today, I mean, those people who will eventually watch it on YouTube, sometime not everyone is aware what goes on when we actually do the live recording here. So just amazing. You went through the various people who are assisting in this cause. We have from West Coast to East Coast, the deans and the chancellors and professors and students. That's truly amazing setup. What I am going to discuss today, or what we are going to discuss today, is something that I want to give a context. Of course, it is about Bhishma Nirvana. It also helps us understand the true chronology of the human civilization, world civilization. And so those are all important points. Many times what people complain, and in the academic setting people would not complain, but for a ordinary person they feel okay. So when something is presented to me scientifically or logically, with some empirical evidence, scientific specific fields like genetics and archaeology and astronomy, and I'm not an expert in that field. That's what people will feel, meaning they are not expert. And so how do they know whether this something is right or wrong, or how do they distinguish between a right claim and a wrong claim? Because for everything there can be multiple claims. Today what I'm going to discuss is a very specific aspect of Bhishma Nirvana. And if that is a very simple linear evidence that people can at least say, hey, you know what, if Mahabharata text shows that is the simple evidence, then they can go and ask anyone who is, say, for example, claiming something for the dating of Mahabharata. They can say, can you show this? Okay. So it's a very simple linear evidence. Okay. So it doesn't require any background knowledge. Okay. All right. So do you want to do you have Aditya ji other comments before I get into my PowerPoint?
No, you said very important thing because the definition of right and wrong, somebody authoritative should decide whether it is right or wrong. Like
Hmm.
just like the Draupadi had only one question in that sabha. Draupadi said, "Was it right that I was brought in this condition in the assembly hall? What was my fault?" Now that question carries on the conscience of so many people because they could not answer that question because of many aspects of that question. And in that
Right.
Bhishma says that the dharma is very subtle and it is very difficult to ascertain what is right or wrong. And generally you can
Yeah.
understand dharma in a setting where many intelligent people speak and express their opinion. So
Right.
dharma is also like a law,
Yeah.
and therefore to judge what is right or wrong, We have to have a jury of dharmic people
Correct.
who can comment
Correct.
on it.
Yeah, and that is a similar great analogy, and that's something similar we are bringing here, because just like dharma, you said the nature is subtle. Same thing with scientific disciplines. They are sometimes the subject can be arcane unless you have a background, and sometimes people, I think, out of a fear, think that they will not understand. The reason I mentioned that, because see, my background is chemical engineering, okay, and out of curiosity, I mean, I always was interested in astronomy, so I knew about astronomy. I learned Sanskrit, with my self effort. Same thing with astronomy, and of course, if required, I took help. But really, a message to all of us and those who are listening and those who will be listening is that if you have enough of passion, okay, you can actually learn any subject. That doesn't mean you have to learn on your own, but you can always begin with yourself, okay. But without much breakage, let me just take you to the just to set the record for this. Show me, okay. Let Tell me when you can see it. Do you
Yes,
see it right now on the
yes,
screen?
yes.
Okay, good. All right. So Bhishma Nirvana, and one of the tagline that you'll see is restoring the truths of Indian Itihas. That is a tagline for my book published in India. Here in America, when I published, I'll show you the name and then I'll tell you what it means. Okay. So let's go to the next slide. These are the books, three books of mine published in India. Okay, that's how the cover would look like. And if you are watching this in India, the combo package for 900 rupees, you can have all three of them delivered to the Indian address. This is how you will see the books, all same three books in North America or anywhere outside India, or you can see this in India too. But these are on Amazon. And Aditya, the only point I want to mention, because we are going to talk something from the Bhishma Nirvana book. Uh, as a tagline, I have written there for the Amazon version, an astronomy poison pill. Uh, okay. And what that means is the poison pill, only Shivaji can digest the poison, right? Which is, it takes a strength, it takes a lot of things. The evidence that is presented, it comes from Mahabharata, of course, but it presented in this book is such that it very clearly, very decisively shows the limits of when the Mahabharata Yuddha is possible. Okay. And we'll talk about that. But that astronomy poison pill. And I want to say today's episode a slightly modified word, instead of calling it astronomy poison pill, because we will not go into astronomy in today's session. We will do that in the this series, in the next part or next. I'll replace that word astronomy with chronology, and I'll say a chronology poison pill. Purely simply knowing based on the Mahabharata evidence as to how long Bhishma was on the bed of arrows, and that information acts like a poison pill to many other uh, not so intelligent claims. And what I mean by intelligent claims is they did not follow the method of science, they did not follow the logical reasoning. Okay, so that's why it becomes a chronology poison pill for those other claims. Same thing for astronomy poison pill. Okay, all right. So let's look at the Mahabharata evidence of Bhishma Nirvana, and we are going to limit only to the Bhishma Nirvana evidence. And I will provide some details, so those people who don't know the details of Bhishma Nirvana become also familiar with it. But ultimately, not today, but ultimately, to understand how this Bhishma Nirvana evidence takes us to a very specific date for the year of Mahabharat war, like 5561 BCE, you need to know astronomy agama, astronomy background knowledge, the knowledge of modern astronomy, knowledge of Indian astronomy. Okay, so this is knowledge that we need. We are not going to go into that today. Then what you also need is the chronological description, chronology related descriptions as they relate to Bhishma Nirvana, as they occur in the Mahabharata text. Okay, that information also we need. And then we combine that with the astronomy evidence. So there is a chronology evidence in Mahabharata text, there is a astronomy related evidence in the Mahabharata text in the context of Bhishma Nirvana. We will combine this, we'll bring it together using the background knowledge of modern astronomy and also Indian astronomy. And what does that tell us? For example, chronology helps us understand the constraints on astronomy evidence. Okay, so then we combine the chronology evidence, astronomy evidence, and using the astronomy background knowledge, it will allow us to arrive at the timeline for the Mahabharata war. This is just purely based on Bhishma Nirvana evidence. Okay, I want to emphasize that. And then, fortunately, Mahabharata evidence is so rich that we, in a finance world, we know this term. In a science also, we know this term. The term goes by the name sensitivity analysis. We can fine tune this information, and actually, if we use that sensitivity analysis, we can fine tune these numbers further. So what this epoch of Bhishma Nirvana, I'm calling this based on Bhishma Nirvana evidence, Adityaji, what it will tell us is that the Mahabharata Yuddha, Mahabharata war, the timing of Mahabharata can occur, or that historical event only occurred during this time frame. It did not occur anytime before 7000 BC. It did not occur any time after 4700 BC, not even a day late, not even a day early. Okay, this is the kind of precise information we can get out of this. And for today's discussion, all we are going to focus on is the pure chronology. Okay, you don't need to truly know anything from astronomy, anything from any other discipline. If you can simply follow the logic of what happened, one thing happening after another, and looking at the descriptions of those events from the Mahabharata, we get one number. And I'll tell you the fascinating aspect of it. Okay, this is just a quick summary of everything that I am going to say. In fact, some of the things that I'm going to say. And so I will not discuss that here, but we are going to begin with the day of a Mahabharata war, when Bhishma fell down in the battle. Okay, then we go through series of events that occurred, and Mahabharata is very rich in describing those events. And finally, the day of winter solstice comes, Uttarayan, and Bhishma passed away on that day. Okay, and just to give you an idea, don't have to go into the details here, how rich is this evidence. So I'm just quoting at the top line three pieces of evidence from Mahabharata. One is from Shanti Parva, another is also from Shanti Parva, and the third one is from Anushasan Parva. If we just use these three, that is so powerful evidence that can quickly take us to that 7000 BC and 4700 BCE, assuming, of course, we know astronomy. And then there is so much rich evidence coming from multiple other parva, other sections of Mahabharata, like Stri Parva, Anushasan Parva, Shanti Parva, and actually there are many more parva that I have not mentioned, just to keep it clean and not make this slide busier than what it already is. Okay, so now let's look at what the details happen. Okay, now those of you who know the Mahabharata war, familiar with how long it was, that's great. If not, I will just mention it, and Aditya ji can keep me honest in case I make a mistake on the duration. Aditya ji. So the Mahabharata war lasted for 18 days, 1-8. Okay, 18 days it lasted. From the Kaurava side, for the first 10 days of the war, Bhishma was their general. Bhishma was their chief of staff, military staff, we can say, for the first 10 days of the war. And on the 10th day of the war, Bhishma fell down in the battle. We'll not again go into the details, but it was a Shikhandi, and Arjun, they attacked Bhishma, and Bhishma fell down in the battle. When he fell down, again, remember, Aditya ji gave us that he is one of the Marutgada, right?
Vasu.
Huh?
Vasu.
Vasu, sorry, forgive me. That's why you are there, to keep me honest. Okay, one of the Vasus. Okay, and because of his austerity, and I'll not go into that story to avoid the digression, he had a specific power. With that power, Ichha Marana, which means, of course, everyone has to, in this mortal world, everyone has to die, but he could choose the timing of his death. So within a given year, you can say he can choose when he wants to die. Okay, so when he falls down in the battle on the 10th day of the war, and actually some people thought he is dead. Okay, that as if he has gone, and then he actually says, no, I'm not gone, I'm alive, I'm injured, but I'm alive. And he looks at the sky, he notices the position of the sun, and he realizes, of course he mentally knows, again he validates that the sun is still in the Dakshinayan. What does that mean? In our times, that means the sun's position is sometime like between 21st June and 21st December. Remember, the war was taking place in the first month of Sharad season. So in our times, that will be like a first part of September, month of September. Okay, because 20th September is the center point of Sharad season, the fall equinox. So first part of September in our times, just imagine something like this. So he looks at it and he says, oh, sun is still going in the southern direction. And he wanted, based on the assumptions, based on the whatever people thought that time, that it is good to die during the Uttarayan. And in this case, Bhishma had fortunately that ability to do so. So he said, no, I'm not going to go. I'm going to wait until the sun turns northward. Uttarayan, it begins.
Yeah, it
So
is.
therefore, yeah, go
In
ahead.
Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says that the
Hmm.
person who leaves their body during the time of the rising of the sun, which is Uttarayan,
Hmm.
and then they ascend to the heaven. So most of these yogis,
Right.
they prefer that time of ascending or leaving
Huh.
this earth.
Right, right. Okay. So it's like, if you're flying a plane, no turbulence is a good time, something like that,
Exactly. Go
right?
above the clouds. In the turbulence, you go above the
Above
clouds.
the clouds. Right, right. So therefore he decides to stay there, and they make an arrangement for him. So they cordon off that area, protect it with the soldiers, and he is lying down on the bed of arrows, because when the medicine men come there to remove the arrows, he says, no, don't bother, because that will be fatal to him possibly. Rather, he wants to stay that way. Okay, so he's lying on the bed of arrows. So that's the 10th day of the war. And then a lot of things happen, okay, in a series of things here. So I'll quickly walk you through. So what happens then? The war continued for another 9 days. Okay, the war continued because 10th day of the war. So 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, you can go up to 18, which means by the time the war was over, Bhishma was on the bed of arrows for 9 days. He was already lying on the bed of arrows for 9 days. Okay, the war is continuing in other places. Then what happens? And I thought I'll just briefly, like, read something, not the actual details, but just read some aspects. So we know how rich is that evidence, because that evidence is not all included here. It is in my book, of course. So after the war was over, that last night, Ashwathama killed the sons of Draupadi and many other warriors on the Pandava side. Next day, Bhim and Arjun humbled Ashwathama. Okay, and that is when they started doing the cremations for all the warriors who had fallen dead. Okay, so that began after the war is over. After that, the Mahabharata tells us that all the Pandavas, all the remaining people, uh, Krishna, Satyaki, Krupacharya, Sanjay, they all went to the bank of Ganga. Okay, because this was a period of mourning. A lot of people have died. Abhimanyu has died, as we know. So it's a time of mourning. So they went to the bank of Ganga. There, Yudhishthir, now Yudhishthir knows the connection of Karna. So there Yudhishthir performs the right vidhi for Karna. Okay, he invites the widows of Karna, and along with them performs the Preta Kriya for Karna, the Jala Kriya and all that. And now Mahabharata tells us that they lived on the bank of Ganga for 1 month. That is that I'm showing 27 days on this slide. Okay, now the 1 month could be actually 30 days, but I'm taking a most conservative time. What is the shortest time possible? Okay, and then we will talk about why I'm taking the shortest time. It is to give the benefit of doubt to other Mahabharata researchers. Okay, and then you will see why I say that. So I've taken the shortest possible time. So instead of 30 days, I've taken 27 days. In reality, that could be 30 days. So they spent a month on the bank of Ganga, and then they come back to, then they return to Hastinapur. Okay, so that timing, Hastinapur, when they return, is like this star here. And then few days go by. What happens in those few days? Yudhishthir is coronated as a king. Yudhishthir assigns the palaces to number of his brothers and other living warriors. Yudhishthir assigns different posts, different ministerial posts to many different people, including his brothers. And while Yudhishthir is doing that, Krishna comes to him and says, hey, that is all good, but we need to go and see somebody, because somebody is waiting for you. And so Yudhishthir, when he asks Krishna, who is that is waiting for him, he says, Bhishmacharya is waiting for you. We need to go and meet him. So if you see this, this star here, so 1, 2, 3, 4, this is when they all go leave from Hastinapur and go to Kurukshetra, where Bhishma is lying on the bed of arrows. The reason I have written this X days is because I don't know, or Mahabharata text doesn't tell us in explicit terms how many days are those days. Okay, so therefore I'm just calling it X. Actually, when our whole episode is all 4 episodes are done, we will know exactly what that X is equal to. Okay, but for now it is like a mathematical puzzle. So those are X days. And then what happens is this. So now we are at the time when we are going to meet Bhishma. So here, after the war, here Vaishampayan tells us that they went to bank of Ganga and they lived there for 1 month. Masam ekam bahi purat. Okay. Now, after all these instances that I described, when the whole party comes and meets Bhishma on a Kurukshetra, that day Bhishma welcomes them. They have a long discussion, whole long day long discussion. When it's a time for sunset, they come back to Hastinapur. Okay. But when that happens, Krishna tells Bhishma that now Bhishma has 56 additional days to live. He says Panchashatam. This is this verse here. Okay, from Shanti Parva 51. Panchashatam Shatcha Kuru Pravira Shesham Dinanam Tavajivitasya. Now, Bhishma, you have 56 more days to live. Okay, and so that's exactly what happens. And we are not going to go into this additional evidence today, but let's quickly do the addition. So the 9 days of the war, when Bhishma was still on the bed of arrows, then 1 month they lived on the bank of Ganga. This is this verse here, Masam Ekam Bahipurat. I have conservatively taken 27. Then they came back to Hastinapur. Few things happen in between, like Yudhishthir was coronated a king. Yudhishthir did few things. We don't know exact duration, so we are calling it X. Then they went to see Bhishma, and Krishna says to Bhishma that Bhishma has additional 56 days to live. If we do this math in the most conservative way, we can say that Bhishma was on the bed of arrows for more than, definitely more than 92 days, because 92 can be actually 95, and plus we have some X days, we don't know how many. Okay, so it is definitely 92, no doubt about this. And I'm just showing you just 2 verses. Actually, all that is required is this reference here, Shanti Parva 1.12 and Shanti Parva 51.14. Plus the Mahabharata evidence of that just tells us is 92. But if someone still thinks, I'm not sure, actually all they need to do is take a copy of a Mahabharata, Bhandarkar Oriental Research Institute's critical edition, or Gita Press Mahabharata edition, or South Indian, Southern edition, we call it Kumbhakonam edition, doesn't matter which one, a good comprehensive edition of Mahabharata, and start reading through right from chapter of Bhishma Parva all the way to Ashwamedha Parva. Or to make their life easier, Adityaji, what I've done is I've given here specific references so they can just jump to those references. Okay, and that C refers to critical edition. But really, what is required, my point is, all is required is these 2 references. But all other references, if somebody is not convinced for whatever reason, that will just tell them time and time again that the Bhishma was on the bed of arrows for the minimum of 92 days, more than 92 days. So just I'm quickly summarizing it here. So 10th day of the war. All right. Now for my timeline, the timeline that I figured out after some 15 plus years of research, the first day is a 16 October 5561 BCE. So if you start counting from 16 October, you add 10, 16, 17, 18, 19, it comes to 25th. Okay. So from the 10th day of the war to day of winter solstice is what we have to do our journey. And Bhishma passed away after sun turned to the north. So 1 day after the day of winter solstice. Okay. So, but that doesn't matter for our calculation. We can take that as a day of winter solstice, and that's fine. So 5561 BC, the war began 16th of October. So if you go 10 days after 16 October, that comes to 25th October 5561 BCE. This is using Julian calendar. Then, as I said, Bhishma was on the bed of arrows for 9 days while the war is still continuing. Okay. Then they went to the bank of Ganga, and there they lived for 1 month. Masam ekam bahipurat. Okay. Conservatively, we are taking 27 days. It can be actually 30 days. Then they all came back to Hastinapur. lot of things happen, like as the Yudhishthir was coronated as a king. We don't know that exact duration, therefore I'm calling it X. When I say we don't know, Mahabharata is not explicit about it, but we can exactly calculate what that number is afterwards. So then they went to meet Bhishma. Now, for my timeline, therefore, that comes to 5th of December, and I'll tell you why I did that afterwards. And that is the day Krishna tells Bhishma that he has 56 more days to live. And Adityaji, what that means, essentially, Krishna is saying the day of winter solstice, the day of Uttarayan, is 56 days in the future. That's why Krishna is saying you have 56 more days to live, right? Because he can live whichever one he wants. And so if you do this, the calculation 56 days, it comes to 30 January. Now that 30 January is indeed the day of winter solstice. Okay. And then, as I said, once the sun turned north, then Bhishma left away his body. That is the day of Bhishma Nirvana, day after, that is 31st January 5560 BC. Now, for some people, Adityaji, this may seem complicated. The takeaway I want them to remember is the fact that Mahabharata evidence, in a very simple, clear, straightforward way, tells us that Bhishma was on the bed of arrows for 92 days. I didn't bring into astronomy, nothing, just that simple chronology number. He was there for more than 92 days. Now, what's the big deal about this? Okay, you'll find, as we know, and I have discussed this before, right now, right now, meaning in last 400, 500 years, there are more than 130 different Mahabharata researchers who tried their best to find out the year of Mahabharata war. Okay. I'm saying, just taking this evidence, only this evidence right now, the Bhishma Nirvana evidence, which is based on either 2 observations or 10 observations or 23 observations or 60 observations, depending on how many more observations one needs to read to convince oneself, the answer is always going to be more than 92, and it only satisfies for 5561 BC. So Aditya ji, I want you to not only keep me honest but grill me, and ask me tough questions on this. But the point I want, this is my last slide, but I want to stop on this slide, and I will show you the exact dates. But the point is, other than Nilesh Oak, myself, no other Mahabharata researcher, living or dead, can show that there is a minimum gap of 92 days. Actually, the real gap needs to be longer than 92 days, but minimum gap of 92 days between the 10th day of the war, whatever the year and day they claim, and the day of winter solstice in that year. Okay. And so for mine, it will be 25th October to 30 Jan, that is 97 days. And on the 98th day, he passed away. And so just this pure evidence actually is such a decisive, such a simple, that anyone can understand, and anyone can ask. If anybody comes with a different date for the year of Mahabharata war, they can ask them, okay, so how do you explain the duration of Bhishma on the bed of arrows for your date? If it is not 5561 BC, I am asserting that they will not able to show it. So that's actually my last slide, and we'll go into the next portion next time. But Aditya ji, you are very much into the tune. You have heard of other dates, including the traditional dates, including the dates of other Mahabharata researchers. So this is for you to grill me.
No, I'm no one to grill anyone. But coming back to this history, like for example, in Sri Parva, is
Hmm.
that's where the prayers are done for all the departed souls. And in that Sri Parva, Bhishma has already gone. So I think there were two travels. One was in the Bhishma Nirvana time,
Hmm.
and after that the in the Sri Parva, which is mentioned that when did, so Yudhishthir, when he's going back,
Hmm.
so these three people have killed the five Pandavas sons were killed,
Yes. Yes.
and then they were running Ashwathama, Kripacharya, and Ashwathama, Kripacharya, and the third was
Yeah. I'll get it.
yeah,
Yeah. Krupa, Ashwathama, and who was the third?
and Satyaki
Your
maybe.
dates are getting gray.
Yeah.
So No, no, but Satyaki is on the
Not
Pandava
Satyaki,
side, but there is a third person
third person.
on. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when there are three running back,
Hmm.
and then one of them goes south towards
Yeah,
Dwarka,
yeah,
and Ashwatthama goes north
yeah.
towards Badrikashram where Vyas is there,
Hmm, hmm, hmm,
and Kripacharya enters Hastinapur. So
hmm.
this meeting happens right outside Hastinapur. So
Which meeting?
these three warriors running, they meet Dhritarashtra.
Okay.
Dhritarashtra and all the queens and the women are coming towards Kurukshetra, and
Hmm,
they have one coast which is around 3 miles
hmm,
from the Hastinapur, and that's where they meet. And
hmm,
that's where they're informed that everyone has been killed.
hmm,
And so I think this is happening after Bhishma Parva
hmm.
also, because of the Bhishma's passing away.
Who meeting who is happening after Bhishma Parva?
So Yudhishthir, so these three people they meet Dhritarashtra,
Ah,
who is coming
ah,
out along with all the queens.
yeah.
And when Yudhishthir Maharaj learns that Dhritarashtra has
Hmm,
come, and so he
hmm.
comes forward to meet him, and that's where all the incidents happen where he tries to crush Bhim, and he's very
Okay,
angry.
okay, 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 okay. So,
No,
but Aditya ji, where are you quoting this from? Now it's my time to grill you. No, this if it is say for example, if you go outside Mahabharata, and I don't know where that
no,
this
this is
this
Sri
would.
Parva. This is Sri Parva.
No, yeah, but I can tell you the Stri Parva, that is not the description. See, Stri Parva, they meet. Stri Parva, and why we are not getting the name? The third person is actually from the Krishna's dynasty that he
Correct.
fought on the Kaurava
On
side.
the side of the
The name,
Kauravas.
yeah, and the name starts with K. If I
Hey,
think if I remember correct,
that's
right?
right.
Yeah,
That's right.
it will come. This makes us humble. We
Kritavarma.
think like this.
Kritavarma. Maybe
Huh?
Kritavarma.
Krutavarma, there you go. Krupacharya, Krutavarma, and Ashwathama. There you
Correct.
go. Okay. So actually, you are right in the sense that in a Stri Parva, which is what immediately Stri Parva is about what the Kuru woman coming to the battlefield, coming
Correct.
to the battlefield and finding their beloved people. Okay, so this is
Yes.
before the cremation. Before the cremation. Okay, so yes, see Duryodhana trying to hug Bhima to kill him. Okay,
Dhritarashtra.
that is correct. Uh, uh,
Yes.
sorry, forgive me. Dhritarashtra trying to do that to Bhima. That is happening during the Stri Parva. Okay, but which is when it is happening more or less on the 19th day, which is the
Uh-huh.
18th day 18th day plus 1 day of
Plus
the
one
war.
day. Right.
Okay,
Right.
plus 1 day. And then the Kuru women come to the battlefield. They cry. They find their husband, brothers, sister, brothers, and whoever, fathers and sons and whatnot. Then the cremation is done. Okay, I mean, so therefore, again, to you also, I mean, if you're not, but our viewers, I would say, wherever you are, do pick a copy of Bhishma Nirvana. Like I have ensured that there is no doubt left whatsoever. I mean, even the I didn't go through the descriptions, but right down to this specific description I discuss in what sequence these things happen with a specific verses. Okay, and so now let us see where our gap is. You gap between what you Aditya is saying and me. So now this cremation is done. Okay, cremation of the bodies, and they go to bank of Ganga. Okay, so when you begin the so Sautik, so after Shalya Parva is the Sautik Parva. That is when they are killed. Like these three guys kill the Pandava side and including the sons of Draupadi. Then the next one is the Stri Parva. So Stri Parva is when the all women come to the battlefield.
Yeah.
Okay, and the cremation happens. After that, Shanti Parva. And the first verse of Shanti Parva is the one verse I showed you. So then they went to the bank of Ganga and lived there for 1 month.
1 month.
Okay. Then right on the bank of Ganga, it is a Narad Muni and Vyasa. They're also there. And they are actually pacifying Yudhishthira, because Yudhishthira is feeling frustrated again, all this violence and whatnot. And so some questions that Yudhishthira asks, and Vyasa tells Yudhishthira, he says, these questions, hold on to those questions. I am answering other questions. Narad Muni is answering other questions. Hold on to those questions. I want you to ask these questions to Bhishma.
Hmm.
After the month is gone, they come back to Hastinapur, and I will also, ask you to get this copy. Then the coronation happens. Then they distribute the palaces. Yudhishthir distribute palaces. Yudhishthir honors Krishna. that also happens during that exercise that I told you.
Mhm.
Now they go to Kurukshetra, where Bhishma is lying down, and that is the day Krishna is telling Bhishma, Panchashatam Shatchakru Pravira, Shesham Dinanam Tava Jivitasya.
Mhm.
And in the next part, when we go to the next part, Adityaji, I will show you some additional evidence to in support of all of these. For example, those 56 days that just Krishna referred to, there is a sufficient evidence to split them into 6 plus 50. So, for example, जो आपने कहा था, whatever you said at the beginning, that Bhishma Yudhishthir Samvad, Bhishma telling Yudhishthir about the Raja Dharma, Moksha Dharma, and all these different aspects of statecraft. Those happen during the 6 day time period. And we have a Mahabharata description. First, in the morning, they will go there, they spend time with them. When it's a day is over, they come back to Hastinapur. Next day, they go again, they come back to Hastinapur. This happens for 6 days. On the 6th day, Bhishmacharya recites Vishnu Sahasranam to Yudhishthir. And on that 6th day, there is a Dhritarashtra and Gandhari with them too. And then Vyasa tells Bhishma that now Yudhishthira is pacified, order him, ask him to go back to Hastinapur, meaning he's going back and forth every day.
Right.
That time, and it's in my book, that day Bhishmacharya tells Yudhishthira, now go back to Hastinapur and do not come back until sun turns north. And if for a second, if I can go, I'm just going to quickly share the slide. Okay. Tell me when you see it. Okay, you see it,
Yes,
right?
you can see
Yeah.
it.
I'm
Yes.
just going to go back 1 second here. See this last verse that you see? So
Mhm.
now I told you that after 6 days, see, this is the day of Vishnu Sahasranam. So from the day they said, 6 days, there is a wonderful Mahabharata descriptions of they going back and forth, with Yudhishthira and party. On the 6th day, Bhishma recites Vishnu Sahasranam. This is the day Vyasa tells Bhishma to ask Yudhishthira to go back to Hastinapur and not come back. So Bhishma tells him, go back, but do not come until sun turns north. Then with Yudhishthira takes all the greetings and all, and he goes back to Hastinapur. This now remember what is happening. So that's from lot of this discussion is happening right between this 51 to all the 6 days discussion. So wherever that happens, from there in Anushas, this is the end of Anushasan Parva. In between that whole Raja Dharma, Moksha Dharma is discussed. Shanti 51 to Anushasan 152. And in the Anushasan Parva, now that Yudhishthir went back to Hastinapur, this is what it is saying. Ushitva Sharvari Sriman Panchashanna Garottame Samayam Kauravagrasya Sasmara Purusharshava. After that, Yudhishthir went back to Hastinapur and lived there for 50 nights. Panchashanna Garottame. And then it says, when the Drushta Nivruttam Adityam Pravrittam Chottarayana. And now, when he saw that the sun has turned north, he came back to Kurukshetra. So think of it. So that's 9 days plus 30 days, now plus 56. That 56 can be split into 6 and 50. And then these all additional evidence that I'm telling you here, like all the Shanti Parva evidence plus this Anushasan Parva, is basically describing Yudhishthir coming to Bhishma on the 55th day, the 54th day, the 53rd day, and so on. So yeah, back to you. Let me stop sharing this. So this 92 is actually many people like to not you because you don't have your own date for the Mahabharat war, but everyone else who has that, they will fight. And I'm saying, okay, I don't know which Mahabharat you are talking. Because if you read the Mahabharat, and it can be Gita Press or it can be Southern Edition or Bhandarkar Oriental, it will take you to more than 92 days. And as soon as next time you will see, Aditya ji, as soon as you go to that 92 days, the magic starts happening, because we are simply talking 92 days now that everyone can understand without even knowing anything in astronomy.
No, the
But when we
Uttarayan,
will together bring together astronomy and the magic, I will show you what happens.
the magic is already happening, and people are enjoying the show already. So the Uttarayan part is very accurate because it is it is the way the yogi and the great people, they know the time to leave the body,
Hmm.
and Bhishma is very accurate over there. So that's where I am, and I've read it myself. So that is where it's very accurate. And what you described about the 92 days is really remarkable, because he did not die on the 19th day. That is a fact.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen. Bhishma, because the Vishnu Sahasranam also, if they're going in, coming in, Vishnu Sahasranam takes 1 day or 2 days to recite, even if you do very fast. Uh,
Well, I mean, our what is the great singer from South India? I mean, no, she will do it. I mean, they will do it in a few hours, right? For
2 hours.
example,
Yeah.
right? But
That's
see, for
something like that.
example, yeah, but for example, like the very fact that they lived on the bank of Ganga for 1 month, and there is this whole discussion, nothing can be ignored.
Nothing
And
else.
then Krishna saying 56 days, and sometime they make many researchers make a fuss about that Krishna saying 56 days. First, meaning they throw child's tantrum and they say like they don't understand 56. I say, tell me which word you don't understand. But the point is they cannot even run away from it,
Yes.
because those 56 days are again validated by like a 40 other references
What
from
is
the
the
Shanti
reference?
Parva, Anushasan Parva, and others that.
Yes.
And then Yudhishthir goes back in 50 days,
And the shloka is very clear. Shloka is
Mhm.
very clear on 56. So, ye
And
chappan,
50 and
and
50 also. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yes.
This is the real chappan number. I won't relate to anyone else.
56 inch that we are hearing, but that maybe it comes from here. It is that powerful,
Is a real chappan.
Yes.
So I think this is a very powerful, powerful. Out for the viewers, I'll call it. It's called philosophical research. So there is one is called mental speculation, which can make everyone crazy, but
Yeah.
philosophical speculation is very much required because if
Right.
the shlokas say
Empirical.
that, and it becomes more scientific and all methodological. And we have a lot of scientists today on the call, and way bigger
Yeah,
than
which is
my
good to
caliber.
have. And I would, Aditya ji, I would encourage them to stay through next time, stay through these 4 episodes. And in case they miss it, they should watch it on the YouTube, because we'll show how this, with the knowledge of astronomy plus the astronomy evidence from Mahabharata, just brings together and creates a magic that is like, it's like what do you call, a solid evidence takes us to a very specific time period.
Thank you so
So,
much, Nilesh ji.
yeah.
It's always a pleasure. And I think what we saw today was really remarkable, that putting a date on when Krishna left. I think the dates are important. It builds us faith in the chronology of our own history. And maybe somewhere we try to de-link ourselves on the BC and AD timelines also, because our calendar should be very unique based on our own events rather than an event which has been considered imposed on the whole world. Imposed is the right word because people did not object to it. There was no democracy to ask, can we put this date as this date? There was nobody asked them, but they just put it. But anyway, it's a great show, and 92 days. Just remember the number 92 and plus, not just 92, 92 plus. So, we left Chappan behind and we come at 92 now. So, so viewers, thank you for watching, and do watch it live on YouTube when it goes there. You can ask a lot of questions, and on the YouTube, some of your questions are there. I'm sure it will come next time. I'll make sure that I'll ask for everyone. The audience is so huge, I cannot ask everybody's question. In fact, I cannot even see how many quotes are coming along. And for people who do not like this content, you don't have to watch it. There are some people who are opposing right now, but anyway, but the YouTube video will be out. Do comment, do subscribe, and let me and Nilesh know your feedback. Thank you. Namaskar.